Before we get started, we have a short message from our friends at Airwave Media.
Hey there, I'm Tyler, the host of Wake Me Up, the only guided morning routine podcast. No matter how you'd like to start your day, Wake Me Up has something for everyone. Whether you'd like a calming meditation, some easy yoga and stretching to wake your body, or an inspirational talk to get you motivated for the day, you can find all of it on Wake Me Up. So trade the snooze button for an episode of Wake Me Up and see how your days change. Just search Wake Me Up in your favorite podcast player.
At a time when change is constant and we are pulled in far too many directions, we need a way to stay present to life and to increase our ability to remain calm, think clearly, and maintain our well-being. Many studies indicate mindfulness improves our mental, emotional, and physical health. On a Mindful Moment with Teresa McKee, you can learn how to practice mindfulness and enjoy its many benefits. Tune in for guided meditations and to hear tips and advice from some of the most respected experts in the fields of mental health and mindfulness. The world truly can be a better place. It all starts with a mindful moment.
Hello, I'm Sheryl, and this is Sleep Tight, Relax, a calming bedtime podcast for the young and young at heart. Our sleep story tonight is about two friends who are going to have tea together. One friend is a cat called Ribby, and the other is a dog called Duchess. They both like to bake pies, so Ribby has decided to treat her friend Duchess to her famous apple pie. The problem is that Duchess has not told her friend Ribby that she does not like apple pie. Duchess knows that Ribby uses pie liners exactly like hers, so Duchess makes her favorite raspberry and blueberry pie in the same pie plate and sneaks over to bake her own pie in Ribby's oven, thinking she can switch them and then enjoy the pie she likes. When Duchess gets to Ribby's house, she cannot find the apple pie to switch them, so she puts hers in the oven anyways, hoping to be able to switch them later. Duchess hopes that it will be easy to switch the pies and that Ribby will not even notice. Before we continue with our story, let's make sure you are cozy and comfortable. Turn off the lights, silence notifications, find your comfortable place, your place to relax, or your favorite position in bed. Wiggle around a little bit and make yourself comfortable. Now, let's slow down by taking a few deep belly breaths. Breathing in slowly through your nose and slowly out through your mouth. As you breathe in, pay attention to the way your body moves with each breath. How your belly rises and falls. Breathe in and and breathe out. Notice how relaxing it feels as you release the breath, and your body sinks deeper and deeper into your mattress. Breathe in and breathe out. Repeat this as often as you feel comfortable. The tale of the pie and pie liner. Once upon a time, there was a cat called Ribby, who invited a little dog called Duchess to tea. "Come in good time, my dear Duchess," said Ribby's letter, "and we will have something so very nice. I am baking it in a pie dish with a pink rim. You never tasted anything so good, and you shall eat it all. I will eat muffins, my dear Duchess," wrote Ribby. Duchess read the letter and wrote an answer. "I will come with much pleasure at 4:15. But this is very strange. I was just going to invite you to come here to supper, my dear Ribby, to eat something most delicious." "I will come very punctually, my dear Ribby," wrote Duchess. And then at the end she added, "I hope it isn't apple pie." And then she thought that did not look quite polite. So she scratched out "isn't apple pie" and changed it to "I hope it will be fine." And she gave her letter to the postman. But she thought a great deal about Ribby's pie, and she read Ribby's letter over and over again. "I am dreadfully afraid it will be apple pie," said Duchess to herself. "I really couldn't eat apple pie, and I shall have to eat it because it is a party, and my pie was going to be raspberry and blueberry, a pink and white pie dish, and so is mine, just like Ribby's dishes. They were both bought at Tabitha Twitchit's." Duchess went to her fridge and took the pie off a shelf and looked at it. "It is all ready to put into the oven. Such lovely pie crust. And I put in a little tin pie liner to hold up the crust. And I made a hole in the middle with a fork to let out the steam. Oh, I do wish I could eat my own pie instead of a pie made from apples." Duchess considered and considered and read Ribby's letter again. "A pink and white pie dish, and you shall eat it all." You means me. Then Ribby is not going to even taste the pie herself? A pink and white pie dish. Ribby is sure to go out to buy the muffins. Oh, what a good idea! Why shouldn't I rush along and put my pie into Ribby's oven when Ribby isn't there? Duchess was quite delighted with her own cleverness. Ribby, in the meantime, had received Duchess's answer. And as soon as she was sure that the little dog would come, she popped her pie into the oven. There were 2 ovens, one above the other. Some other knobs and handles were only ornamental and not intended to open. Ribby put the pie into the lower oven. The door was very stiff. "The top oven bakes too quickly," said Ribby to herself. "It is a pie of the most delicious and sweet apples, mixed up with cinnamon and nutmeg. And I have taken out all the seeds, because Duchess nearly choked herself last time I gave a party. She eats a little fast, rather big mouthfuls, but a most gentle and elegant little dog, far nicer company than Cousin Tabitha Twitchit." Ribby put on some coal and swept up the hearth. Then she went out with a can to the well or water to fill up the kettle. Then she began to set the room in order, for it was the sitting room as well as the kitchen. She shook the mats out at the front door and put them straight. She dusted the clock and the ornaments on the mantelpiece, and she polished and rubbed the tables and chairs. Then she spread a very clean white tablecloth and set out her best china tea set, which she took out of a cupboard near the fireplace. The teacups were white with a pattern of pink roses, and the dinner plates were white and blue. When Ribby had laid the table, she took a jug and a blue and white dish and went out down the field to the farm to fetch milk and butter. When she came back, she peeped into the bottom oven. The pie looked very comfortable. Ribby put on her shawl and bonnet and went out again with a basket to the village shop to buy a packet of tea, a pound of lump sugar, and a pot of marmalade. And just at the same time, Duchess came out of her house at the other end of the village. Ribby met Duchess halfway down the street, also carrying a basket covered with a cloth. They only bowed to one another. They did not speak because they were going to have a party. As soon as Duchess had gotten round the corner out of sight, she simply ran straight away to Ribby's house. Ribby went into the shop and bought what she required and came out, after a pleasant conversation with Cousin Tabitha Twitchit. Cousin Tabitha was haughty afterwards in conversation. A little dog, indeed, just as if there were no cats in town. And a pie for afternoon tea, the very idea, said Cousin Tabitha Twitchit. Ribby went on to Timothy Baker's and bought the muffins. Then she went home. There seemed to be a sort of scuffling noise in the back passage as she was coming in at the front door. "I trust that is not that pie," said Ribby. But there was nobody there. Ribby opened the bottom open door with some difficulty and turned the pie. There began to be a pleasing smell of baked apples. Duchess, in the meantime, had slipped out of the back door. It is a very odd thing that Ribby's pie was not in the oven when I put mine in, and I can't find it anywhere. I have looked all over the house. I put my pie into a nice hot oven at the top. I could not turn any of the other handles. I think they are all fake, said Duchess. But I wish I could have removed the pie made of apples. I cannot think what she has done with it. I heard Ribby coming and I had to run out by the back door. Duchess went home and brushed her beautiful black coat, and then she picked a bunch of flowers in her garden as a present for Ribby, and passed the time until the clock struck 4. Ribby, having assured herself by careful search that there was really no one hiding in the cupboard or in the larder, went upstairs to change her dress. She put on a lilac silk gown for the party and a fancy apron and scarf. "It is very strange," said Ribby. "I do not think I left that drawer pulled out. Has someone been trying on my mittens?" She came downstairs again and made the tea, and put the teapot on the side of the stove. She peeped again into the bottom oven. The pie had become a lovely brown, and it was steaming hot. She sat down before the fire to wait for the little dog. "I am glad I used the bottom oven," said Ribby. "The top one would certainly have been very much too hot. I wonder why that cupboard door was open. Can there really have been someone in the house?" Very punctually at 4 o'clock, Duchess started to go to the party. She ran so fast through the village that she was too early, and she had to wait a little while in the lane that leads down to Ribby's house. "I wonder if Ribby has taken my pie out of the oven yet," thought Duchess. "And whatever can have become of the other pie made of apples?" At 4:15 to the minute, there came a most gentle little tappity-tap. "Is Mrs. Ribston at home?" inquired Duchess in the porch. "Come in, and how do you do, my dear Duchess?" cried Ribby. "I hope I see you well." "Quite well, I thank you, and how do you do, my dear Ribby?" said Duchess. "I've brought you some flowers. What a delicious smell of pie!" "Oh, what lovely flowers! Yes, it is apple." "Do not talk about food, my dear Ribby," said Duchess. "What a lovely white tea cloth! Is the pie ready? Is it still in the oven?" "I think it wants another 5 minutes," said Ribby. "Just a shade longer. I will pour out the tea while we wait. Do you take sugar, my dear Duchess?" "Oh, yes, please, my dear Ribby. And may I have a lump upon my nose?" "With pleasure, my dear Duchess. How beautifully you ask. Oh, how sweetly pretty." Duchess sat up with the sugar on her nose and sniffed. "How good that pie smells. I do love raspberry and blueberry. I mean apple." She dropped the sugar in confusion and had to go hunting under the tea table, so she did not see which oven Ribby opened in order to get the pie out. Ribby set the pie upon the table. There was a very delicious smell. Duchess came out from under the tablecloth munching sugar and sat up on a chair. "I will first cut the pie for you. I am going to have muffins and marmalade," said Ribby. "Do you really prefer muffins? Mind the pie liner." "I beg your pardon?" said Ribby. "May I pass you the marmalade?" said Duchess quickly. The pie turned out to be extremely tasty, and the muffins were light and hot. They both disappeared quickly, but especially the pie. "I think," thought the Duchess to herself, "I think it would be wiser if I helped myself to pie, though Ribby did not seem to notice anything when she was cutting it. What very small, fine pieces it had cooked into. I did not remember that I had mixed it up so fine. I suppose this is a quicker oven than mine." "How fast Duchess is eating," thought Ribby to herself, as she buttered her 5th muffin. The pie dish was emptying rapidly. Duchess had had 4 pieces already and was fumbling with a spoon. "A little more pie, my dear Duchess?" said Ribby. "Thank you, my dear Ribby. I was only feeling for the pie liner." "The pie liner, my dear Duchess?" "The pie liner that held up the pie crust," Duchess, blushing under her black coat. "Oh, I didn't put one in, my dear Duchess," said Ribby. "I don't think that it is necessary in pies made of apple." Duchess fumbled with the spoon. I can't find it," she said anxiously. "There isn't a pie liner," said Ribby, looking perplexed. "Yes, indeed, my dear Ribby. Where can it have gone to?" said Duchess. "There most certainly is not one, my dear Duchess. I disapprove of such articles in puddings and pies. It is most undesirable, especially when people swallow in lumps," she added in a quieter voice. Duchess looked very much alarmed and continued to scoop the inside of the pie. Duchess looked aghast and tipped up the pie dish. "I have only 4 pie liners, and they are all in the cupboard." Duchess set up a howl. "Oh, no! I have swallowed a pie liner! Oh, my dear Ribby, I do feel so ill." "It is impossible, my dear Duchess. There was not a pie liner." Duchess moaned and whined and rocked herself about. "Oh, I feel so dreadful. I have swallowed a pie liner." "There was nothing in the pie," said Ribby severely. "Yes, there was, my dear Ribby. I am sure I have swallowed it." "Let me prop you up with a pillow, my dear Duchess. Where do you think you feel it?" "Oh, I do feel ill all over me, my dear Ribby. I have swallowed a large pie liner with a scalloped edge." "Shall I run for the doctor?" "Oh, yes, yes. Fetch Dr. Maggotty, my dear Ribby. He is a pie himself. He will certainly understand." Ribby settled Duchess in an armchair before the fire and went out and hurried to the village to look for the doctor. She found him at the smithy. He was occupied in putting rusty nails into a bottle of ink, which he had obtained at the post office. "Damn it, ha-ha," said he with his head on one side. Ribby explained that her guest had swallowed a pie liner. "Spinach, ha-ha," he said, and accompanied her with great speed. He hopped so fast that Ribby had to run. It was most conspicuous. All the village could see that Ribby was fetching the doctor. "I knew they would overeat themselves," said Cousin Tabitha Twitchit. But while Ribby had been looking for the doctor, a curious thing had happened to Duchess, who had been left by herself, sitting before the fire, sighing and groaning and feeling very unhappy. "How could I have swallowed it? Such a large thing as a pie liner." She got up and went to the table and felt inside the pie dish again with a spoon. "No, there is no pie liner, and I put one in, and nobody has eaten pie except me, so I must have swallowed it." She sat down again and stared mournfully at the grate. The fire crackled and danced, and something sizzled. Duchess startled. She opened the door of the top oven. Out came a rich, sweet flavor of raspberry and blueberry, and there stood a fine brown pie. And through a hole in the top of the pie crust, there was a glimpse of the little tin pie liner. Duchess drew a long breath. "Then I must have been eating apple. No wonder I feel ill. But perhaps I should feel worse if I had really swallowed a pie liner," Duchess reflected. "What a very awkward thing to have to explain to Ribby. I think I will put my pie in the backyard and say nothing about it." When I go home, I will run around and take it away." She put it outside the back door and sat down again by the fire and shut her eyes. When Ribby arrived with the doctor, she appeared fast asleep. "What is wrong?" said the doctor. "Oh, I am feeling very much better," said Duchess, waking up with a jump. "I am truly glad to hear it. He has brought you a pill, my dear Duchess." "I think I shall feel quite well if he only felt my pulse," said Duchess, backing away from the magpie, who sidled up with something in his beak. "Spinach? Ha-ha! It is only a bread pill. You had much better take it. Drink a little milk, my dear Duchess." "Are you okay, Gammon?" said the doctor, while Duchess coughed and choked. "Don't say that again," said Ribby, losing her temper. "Here, take this bread and jam and get out into the yard." "Gammon and spinach, ha-ha-ha!" shouted Dr. Maggotty triumphantly outside the back door. "I am feeling very much better, my dear Ribby," said Duchess. "Do you not think that I had better go home before it gets dark?" "Perhaps it might be wise, my dear Duchess. I will lend you a nice warm shawl, and you shall take my arm." "I would not trouble you for worlds. I feel wonderfully better. One pill from Dr. Maggotty, indeed it is most admirable if it has cured you of a pie liner. I will call you directly after breakfast to ask how you have slept." Ribby and Duchess said goodbye affectionately, and Duchess started home. Halfway up the lane, she stopped and looked back. Ribby had gone in and shut her door. Duchess slipped through the fence and ran round to the back of Ribby's house and peeked into the yard. Upon the roof sat Dr. Maggotty and 3 crows. The crows were eating the pie crust, and the magpie was drinking the berry juice out of the pie pan. "Gammon, ha-ha!" he shouted when he saw Duchess's little black nose peeping around the corner. Duchess ran home feeling very silly. When Ribby came out for a pailful of water to wash up the tea things, she found a pink and white pie dish lying smashed in the middle of the yard. The pie liner was under the pump, where Dr. Maggotty had considerately left it. Ribby stared with amazement. Did you ever see the like? So there really was a pie liner? But my pie liners are all in the kitchen cupboard. Well, I never did. It's an unusual day. Next time I want to give a party, I will invite Cousin Tabitha Twitchett. Sleep tight.